Hey Tea Club, we got a really special flavor this month for you guys. We have that ripe pu'er mixed with rose. And, shout out to our team over there at West China Tea. Jamie, you've been holding it down. Sohan, you just had a birthday recently. You guys have been really hooking it up with these monthly tea pairings. And despite the setbacks, because we were supposed to get a different tea this month, but despite the setbacks, you guys are still coming through some really amazing teas. So all of you that are in our tea club, if you like any of this stuff that we're getting, yeah, feel free. Go to West China Tea and get direct, right? And get more. Anyway, what we're brewing today is a ripe pu'er mixed with rose. And I just heated up my vessel. For this, you'll want to use an Ishin clay pot. And what's cool about this particular variety is that both of them can take the heat quite well. Usually with floral blends, you don't want to brew too hot at risk of scalding the tea. However, both the rose, which is a prehistoric flower, right? The rose can take the heat, and the ripe pu'er can absolutely take the heat as well. So I've gone through the process of warming up and rinsing out my vessel beforehand. I'm going to set this aside. Just for extra credit, we also get a little boost of rose too. So check it out. Maybe you guys can see, but it's just straight up rose petals. And so for a little extra rose love, a little extra blessing on the heart, let's go ahead and throw some of that in there too. Okay. So we let that do its thing. I like to leave the raw material inside the warm pot. Kind of introduces the heat, introduces the moisture, gives it kind of a sauna effect, if you will. And it's a great way to kind of initiate your process. If you're lucky, you might get some really nice noses on the lid also. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get this up to temp. Again, the ripe pu'er, the rose, both of them quite capable of taking the heat. So I want to get this up to angry boiling temperature. And that's where we're going to start from in this process. Okay. I like to use my ears. Kind of gets big and then it levels out. Right there. Yep. All right. So we're going to just enough to cover, right? This is the first rinse. And because it's in that densely pressed ripe pu'er cake, we're just going to go ahead and let this sit for quite some time, minute, 2 minutes, just enough to tell a story as I'm doing now. But the idea is that that densely pressed cake, you want to give it time to open a little bit with these initial rinses because, yeah, sure, you could just brew straight away, but you'd be brewing from the outside in. And with these darker, older aged varieties, you want to brew from the inside out. It's a much nicer experience. So we'll just go ahead and call that a minute, give it a nice agitation. Since there are those rose leaves in there, those rose petals rather, I want to make sure all of it gets caught and rinsed. We'll just pour it out. These initial rinses are important. They give us an opportunity to observe the clarity, observe the color. They open up the leaf a bit to help us brew deeper. And they also awaken the nose too, right? So I like to sniff the lid, observe the color. A little murky, probably because of the rose. Maybe the pollen has got up in there. I'll pour this off. Let it oxygenate a little bit, cool off, if you will. Sometimes I use fancy words. Now we're going to smell this too. Wow, wow, wow. Again, I love Kung Fu tea ceremony because distinct from just brewing a bag and getting on the go, this really invites you to engage all your senses at all these different landmark stages of the process. I quite enjoy it. And this is also kind of very intimate, very small group because you imagine one person enjoying these delicate aromas. Okay, no problem, but every person you pass it to, you're going to lose it. And so, these small tea ceremonies are very, very intimate, very delicate, very subtle, and sweet to share with just like two or three people. All right, here we go. So the other thing is that I like to let it breathe after having rinsed. Now again, it's sitting in that pot, that hot, humid pot, and it's allowing the cake to unravel and open up just a little bit more. It's allowing those roses to rehydrate and bloom once again. And as long as I keep it relatively hot, I don't want it to go hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, then we would call this breathing, right? Letting it breathe between steeps. And very important step. Okay, here we go. Angry boiling water. Because it's just myself, I won't brew a full pot. And then as soon as I pour it on, I pour it off. That's what's called a flash steeping. Especially having gone through that process of that initial rinse. Now that that tea is open and available, boom, flash steep is all you need. And with these flash steepings, consider that you allow yourself to get more and more and more out of these brews. Here we go. Nah, that's the clarity I was looking for, right? It was probably just the pollen from the roses. We have a nice, beautiful, clear liqueur, this nice crimson, dark crimson red. Rinse out my cup really quick, bring it to temp, and let's see what we have. Wow, there it is. This is very nice aged profile, very, very soft. Feels like sitting in an old library. You gotta love ripe pu'er for that, right? It has that nice vintage feeling. It's like listening to old vinyl and sitting in leather bound chairs, maybe some cigar smoke in the distance. Really, really nice experience that it can create for us. And then you add that rose. It's really nice on the back of the palate, really fills out the nose and the olfactory in the back end. The warmth of this is very, very soothing as well. It sinks and settles all the way down through the heart. Quite nice. Let's go ahead and jump ahead to this second steeping. Again, we're brewing that Nanawa Mountain ripe pu'er tea mixed with roses, pressed with roses. And then I added a few more rose petals on top. All right, steep number 2. Again, all you need is a flash steep, a gentle blanch. What may happen if you brew out of a clay pot is that the leaf matter or the rose petals in this instance, they may clog the tip, right? You may get these really, really slow strains, right? The way you can mitigate that is, give a gentle shake and don't pour it straight off. Pour it kind of at an angle and then tilt it. And that'll help clear the pipeway and, allow for full, complete steeps. Okay, here we go. Round two. Wow. It's losing the red. Now it's going more earthy, right? Deeper, but the clarity is coming back with every steep. So, yeah, I'm sure that initial murkiness is definitely pollen. Nice and viscous, very thick liqueur. Always impressive for being such a short steep, how quickly it can take on the oils and the tannins and give weight and depth to the brew. Oh, that rose is really pronounced now. Do note that your Ishin clay pot is porous and roses are fragrant, and so you're going to taint your stain with rose should you choose to brew it in your pot. I'm okay with that. Otherwise, I'd encourage you to brew out of a gaiwan, porcelain, or a glass. Just note that those things don't carry the heat as well, and so you may not get as much depth out of the brew as you'd like to. Oh man. Wow. Immediately I can feel my neck and shoulders release. It just warms the heart, warms the chest. Wow, I feel it all through my ribs. Lovely, lovely, lovely. This is one of those teas. I can see this being really good towards the evening time. It's still summer technically, and we typically reserve these darker, richer brews for the winter time. However, if you have cold evenings or kind of after dinner time, this would be a wonderful tea for that. The other thing is that these teas, I spoke of like the old leather bound and the old library, the old feel. These teas lend really well to patina. You drink this enough and the patina will gather really quick. If you guys don't know what I mean by patina, right? So I have this stone here. It started off white, but you brew and brew and brew and brew and brew, and then it kind of takes on this you know colors. You literally paint it, right? But that's the patina of the tea. And so this particular variety, this dark, rich, rosy, ripe pu'er, will build patina quite fast, right? And if you're into that kind of thing, the aged, flavored feel, it's quite nice. All right, there you have it. So that's our tea. That's how you brew it. That's how you enjoy it. Those are some of the things you can consider. If you're into this tea stuff, I guarantee it'll elevate your practice to the next level. Do consider joining our tea club. I'll be switching things up in the next couple months and making it more accessible to you guys. However, if you're into it, go ahead and dive on in. WudonWest.com, monthly tea club. Enjoy.